Morning everybody, Gator with eCells e-bikes. Today we're going to show you how to change out the air seal in a normal fork. And by normal fork I just mean one with a single bridge, not the extra bridges in the double and triple crown forks. This will show you how to change the air seals in a TRAMA, an RST, and a GTMRK fork, the three brands that we carry on our Super Monarch lines. These are our three model air seals. This would be a TRAMA. This is an RST. Those would be found on our 1500 watt Super Monarchs, our 750 times 2 motors. And this is a GTMRK. You're going to find this on our 700,000 watt models of Monarchs. The basic tools for this job are going to be a shock pump, a air valve stem releaser. You'll need either Allen wrenches or a regular socket for your bottom bolts and sockets to fit your top. The actual tools and sizes you need will vary by the fork. And the last tool you will need will be either a heavy-duty zip tie or a piece of string. I know you're wondering about that. Watch the video and you'll know. With the bolt removed from the air side, on the bottom of the fork, we will now remove the top of the air side. We're going to go ahead and let the air out of the fork to relieve any pressure in there. Now with the air out, we just remove the top of the air seal. Okay, the air seal does not want to come out. So this is obviously either an RST or a TRAMA style fork. In which case what we need to do now is remove the bottom bolt from the lock side. I have the fork in lock position, and we're going to undo. Sometimes is now. The bolt's not coming out. It's just spinning inside of the cylinder. So what we're going to do is create pressure on the bolt by unlocking the fork. We're going to go ahead and pull this fork into a fully bottomed out position, and I'm going to use a zip tie. That's going to keep this crown in place so that the fork can't drop. Next, we need to remove the lock cap. Underneath this is going to be 2 ball bearings and springs. So you want to be very careful when you remove this so you don't lose those. And it's very helpful to have you a little magnet to pull this stuff out. There's one of the ball bearings. One of them fell down in here when I removed it. So that's why I said you have to be extremely careful. Ball bearing, spring. Ball bearing, spring. With those springs removed, we're now going to remove the top seal. Now with this unscrewed, we're going to put this back into the lock position. Now that it's in the lock position, as I spin it upside down, I can pull down on the assembly and create pressure so that now we're unscrewing. instead of just spinning inside. Here's our return spring. This is what controls your rebound and how fast the bike reacts. Now with the return spring removed, we can undo our zip tie. And when we pull these covers off, this is what's holding this in place. This particular style is obviously the RST. If it was the TRAMA, it would look like this. For the RST, we need to remove these two horseshoe lock washers and this rubber gasket helps to absorb the impact. And then this assembly will slide right out. My little trick for the horseshoe is I just have some tongue and groove pliers. Squeeze them so it spreads open. Now we have a little gap at the top that I can put a screwdriver in and then pry them the rest of the way out. There's two of those. Now we just remove the rubber stopper and the air assembly will drop right out. If the air assembly was the TRAMA, same thing, we're just gonna pull these pieces off and this rubber gasket's the same, slides right off, and then this would have slid out. We'd insert the new one and then replace the hardware. But this is an RST, so we better put the proper air seal in it. We're going to drop that in and go ahead and secure that down. We'll now put our rubber absorber gasket back on and our two horseshoe clamps. With our two horseshoe clamps on, we'll now return the covers over the forks. I'm going to use a little Phillips to align the bolt hole up, and we'll go ahead and put the air side back on. As we see, we're reaching a point where now it's just spinning. Why is it doing that? No air pressure. All we have to do for this side is put some air pressure in it. That'll create force so we can tighten that bolt up. I have a little over 100 pounds, almost 150 pounds in here right now. And now that screw just tightened right on down and I'm able to give it a little force to make sure it's snug. Now I'm going to let a little air pressure back out so that the forks will collapse, and then we're going to put the rebound side in. I'm going to go ahead and drop it down to about 70, 80 pounds. We'll now take our rebound side, drop that in. I have my screw ready so that we can align the bolt hole with the shock and get this one started. We've reached a point where it's still spinning again and kind of fighting with us. Instead of pulling on, putting down pressure or anything like that, put the fork in the unlocked position, and now we'll go ahead and close this side up. We're going to go ahead and bring this back up to about 130 pounds. And by doing that, it's applying pressure to the forks for us. We're going to place the fork back into a locked position. And to do that, I'm just putting the cap on and I'm turning it to lock until it stops. Now we'll tighten this the rest of the way up. And snug. Now it's time to replace our springs and ball bearings. And we're also going to drop this fork down to about 90 pounds of pressure, which is pretty good for the average rider. As you see, I was able to release that air pressure just by pushing this button. That's why we recommend this brand of air pump. It gives you this ability. It gives you up to 300 pounds of pressure, so it's good for your front and your rear shock as well. The brand of shock pump we use is called a Gaio. Available on Amazon. You'll have it in 2 days if you're a Prime member. Okay, for the springs, we got a lot of holes here. We're just going to put the springs in on opposite sides. We got one here. We'll go as across as we can. On this side I have 3 spaces. On the back side I have 4. Before putting the ball bearings on, make sure the fork is in the locked position, and you're going to align your lockup as close as you can to that stop point where it drops on. So that's how it's going to go on. Now we'll drop the ball bearings on top of the springs. As you notice, I'm not wearing my gloves for this because they're basically BBs. We have both on. I'm lined up in that position. The lock cap is on. And now we screw it down. Okay, it doesn't want to turn all the way back. I've got this too tight. Almost there. And there we go, working properly. Now we put our air valve cap back on, and you have now just successfully changed the air seal in your shock. And if you had a rebound seal that you had to replace, as you saw for the rebound, there was no need to take the whole assembly apart. You would have just been able to undo the bottom bolt, the top, remove, and drop your new one in. Now that you have your new fork rebuilt, you're going to put that on and test it out. And when you're doing that, always wear your helmet.